justified, sanctified, and anointed by the Holy Spirit. So, seeing all these things, what is revealed about the Spirit of God in your life? It's a picture here that's a very different emphasis than much of what is taught and proclaimed in churches, in many places. What do we see? Each one reveals something. The Spirit came upon Bezalel. Why? To have the skills and the wisdom to put together the tabernacle of God and the holy things of God. The Spirit came on Moses and then on the leaders. Why? To lead, minister, judge, discern, have the ability to bless the people of God. The Spirit came on Joshua. Why? They may have the power to walk in the footsteps of Moses and take charge and to lead the people into the promised land, to fight and have the victory. The Spirit came on Samson. Why? That he might have power and strength to overcome the enemies of God's kingdom. The Spirit came on Ezekiel and the prophets. Why? That they could speak and do the will of God and reveal the revelations of God to his people and write the scriptures for you. The Spirit of God came upon Messiah. Why? That he might bring salvation. The Spirit came on his disciples. Why? That they might fulfill the Great Commission. What do you see in all these things? This is a very different revelation than what is often preached. The Spirit doesn't come upon us so we can simply say the Spirit came upon us, or have the gifts, or have the services about that. That's not the full or main thrust. The Spirit of God comes upon us so that we would do something. The Spirit of God anoints us that we can do the will of God. The connection is between the Spirit and the will. You have a spirit, and you have a will. Your spirit and your will are joined together. Your spirit wills your will and does your will, leads you. You do what your spirit is leading you to do in doing your will. So with God himself. The Spirit of God wills the will of God. The Spirit of God does the will of God. It moves to accomplish the will of God. The commands of God in the Torah came from the Spirit of God. So how do we fulfill the commands of God? Only by the Spirit of God. We're all in the same boat. We desire to do the will of God. We want to, but how? How does one live, quote, the Christian life? One doesn't, one can't. Only one life can live that life. Only the Christ can live the Christian life. How does one live the Messianic life? One doesn't, only the Messiah lives the Messianic life. How do you live the godly life? You can't, only God can live the godly life. It is the presence of Messiah that fulfills the Messianic life, the presence of the Christ that fulfills the Christian life, and the presence of God that fulfills the godly life. And the presence of God in you, you can live the life that you're called to live. Most believers who love God struggle with doing the will of God, doing what's right and not doing that thing that's wrong. But there's a gap between what you should do and what you do. What you shouldn't do and what you do. So believers struggle with this, and you're probably struggling in some way, or you have your days, you will have your days. And then on the other hand, believers think of the struggle, and then other believers, you think of the Spirit coming, and the spiritual experiences, the gifts and the miss, all that. The point is, it's not to be two separate realms, it's one realm. We got to bring the two realms together. The one has everything to do with the other. Most believers try on their own to attain the standards of God. I'm trying to do what's right. I'm trying to not do what's wrong. It's good that you want to do what's right, and it's good that you don't want to do what's wrong. That's a good thing, but it's missing something. If you are given up power, if you're given up power and you don't use that power, you're going to be no better off than the one who does not have the power. What does God say? I will put my Spirit inside of them, and I will cause them to walk in my ways. So if you're walking or doing on your own and not by the Spirit, then how are you going to walk in his ways? If that power is specifically given to have you do it and you don't live by that power, how can you do it? It all goes back to Popeye. I'm not saying that Popeye was spirit-filled. Don't quote me, and we'll have people write in and we'll have more opposition. But we all grew up, most of us grew up watching Popeye. Even some of you in Latin America where you had Popeye speaking Spanish. We all grew up, Popeye's being beaten up, beaten down, helpless, and you're going, oh, Popeye, why? Again. And in his pocket is that can of spinach. And you're saying, Popeye, eat the spinach. I mean, if you're smart, you wouldn't wait until you're beaten up. I mean, you're living reactively. Be proactive. Eat your spinach before the fight. Is that asking too much? Or at least when you see Bluto coming, you know the guy's got an anger problem. Break out the spinach. But he never did. Always had to be beaten up before he reached for that can. And it was sad. It took me all beaten up. He could barely open up that can. Sometimes, I mean, he had to eat it through his pipe. And that's sad. That was sad, when you have to eat spinach through a pipe. But once he ate the spinach, everything turns around. He changed from being beaten up to beating up, from a victim to a victor. And there's a lot we can learn from that because believers are a lot like Popeye. Turn to your neighbor and say, you're a lot like Popeye. You're struggling with the enemy. You're struggling with that sin. You're struggling with that habit and that problem and the thing that gets you, and you're not winning. You're getting all beaten up by the enemy. And there's no reason you have to be, because you have the power that is stronger than the enemy. You're just not using it. And it doesn't matter how long you've been beat up, or no matter how beaten up you've been in your walk or your life. If Popeye could open that can with his pipe, you can access the power that is given to you by God. And you can turn the situation around and start sending the enemy running by the power of the Spirit of God. Just reach for that can. You know, it says S-P-I-R-I-T. Better than spinach, it's the Spirit of God is the power of victory. Even though we know it in our heads, we barely use it. Him. To really use it is radical, that can radically change your life. To take those two realms and join them together. The Spirit of God coming on Pentecost and what you're dealing with in your life. All things to live in a new way, to deal with in a new way all things by the Spirit. What's the power of the Spirit? The power that gives you